You think I'm harassing people, you think I'm doing things because I'm allowed to do it or I want to do it. It's the First Amendment. I am allowed to walk around and film things. I am allowed to swear in front of a police officer in a close proximity. It's called the First Amendment, freedom of speech and protest. You cannot criminalize that, but here we are in a joke municipal court and you just criminalized it and you're about to sentence me. So have fun.
You don't want to get physical with me. I'll take you down.
I'm not going to get physical.
I'll sweep your leg. I'll sweep your leg.
It's fake. It's a fake criminal record. Fake. It's all fake. Everything about me is fake.
Show me your driver's license. You have one?
Is that a requirement?
You have a driver's license.
Are you ordering me to do a thing?
Sir, I have a complaint to turn in. You are impeding the complaint process. You're violating multiple of my civil rights.
Welcome back to the Thedummykruger channel, everyone. Today's video comes out of the Mesa, Arizona Municipal Court, where we listen in on the audio of a sentencing hearing for First Amendment Auditor Direct D. Direct D was in court after being found guilty on 4 different arrests that revolve around his so-called First Amendment activism. Typically in my videos, I try to add a bit of humor throughout to make covering these people a little bit more palatable. This one is different. This one feels a little more somber in my opinion. This video shows us some of the consequences that come along with this so-called activism with real-world ramifications attached. But even as those consequences are staring you right in the face, the lack of seriousness and disrespect towards the court really highlights the type of man Direct D is. Let's jump right in.
My turn?
Mr. Ruff, this is your opportunity to speak if you wish to do so. You don't have to make any statement, obviously, as you are aware.
Oh, we're on the record. I'm going to make some statements.
No, I understand, Mr. Ruff. I expected that you did, but I just wanted to let you know that you don't have to speak, but if you choose to speak, now would be that time, sir.
Excellent. So, we're talking about jail. Jail, inappropriate. There's no victims in any of these cases. Police officers cannot be victims of a crime unless they were injured or robbed from. So, jail is kind of out of the question. Besides, I'm about to have a baby in the next couple days. I'm the sole provider of my household, so jail would be immoral for a judge in your position to sentence somebody like me to.
Immoral to send someone found guilty of multiple crimes to jail because they have a child on the way? I'd say it's more a reflection on your behavior. Do we think Direct D considered the consequences of his actions before being arrested and convicted 4 times? We live in the real world, where our behavior and actions can lead to unpleasant circumstances if you act outside of the law. What would be appropriate, in my opinion, is to have some self-reflection as to what got you in this situation while attempting to the best of your abilities to remedy these issues.
I think that your rulings have been erroneous and outside of the Constitution of the United States. I think you are operating outside of your oath of loyalty office to the United States Constitution and the Arizona Constitution. I think the prosecutor has made false claims against me that I'm aware of my actions being illegal, that I did things intentionally. Those are claims with no basis to them, no foundation and no proof, but yet here we are on the record and you're allowing a prosecutor to make those claims. So, whatever. I don't personally care what you sentence me to. I'm appealing everything today, so it's going to freeze whatever you appeal, whatever you sentence me to, and we're just going to kick it to a higher court. Because clearly this one is corrupt. Your strings are being pulled by somebody else outside of this city or in the city. Maybe the city council, Chris Brady's maybe telling you what to do. Maybe your judges are friends with the police out on the street.
That seems like an incredible amount of wild speculation. What is he basing this on besides the fact he believes he knows more than the lawyers, prosecutors, and the judge? So because he was found guilty, he believes, without providing any proof, mind you, that this whole trial was some sort of set up by anyone he can think of.
You think I'm harassing people, you think I'm doing things because I'm allowed to do it or I want to do it. It's the First Amendment. I am allowed to walk around and film things. I am allowed to swear in front of a police officer in a close proximity. It's called the First Amendment, freedom of speech and protest. You cannot criminalize that, but here we are in a joke municipal court and you just criminalized it and you're about to sentence me. So have fun. You guys are both traitors to the Constitution and the United States. Sentence me to whatever you want. I'm appealing it. I'll go pay for the record and walk out of here. This is going to go to an appellate court. It's going to go to the Supreme Court. It's going to go to the Superior Court. I have money and time. I'm not going to just stick around and be on probation or go to jail. I did absolutely nothing wrong. You allowed fake evidence to be introduced. You allowed the prosecutor to make false statements during trial. So many mistakes were made.
So what was this fake evidence? Let's hear it. What did the prosecutor lie about? If he is so confident in these assertions, why couldn't he prove it during his trial? Did you bring up this so-called fake evidence? Did your lawyer bring up this so-called fake evidence? Why or why not?
Mr. Ruff, I appreciate the fact that you are going to appeal. That is certainly your right.
Absolutely.
I would like you to,
What?
well, that's fine. I was hoping that you would confine your arguments to what you believe your sentence should be.
I don't care what the sentence is going to be. I'm going to appeal it. I'm never going to do the time.
Well, congrats, I guess. You certainly have the right to appeal just as anyone else does. What is your appeal based on? This reminds me of Chile saying, quote, "I sue people. It's what I do." Well, filing your lawsuit is the easiest part. Winning, on the other hand, is a monumental task altogether. Same way with DirectD's appeal. Filing the appeal is the easy part.
Judges that are actual judges, not appointed fake judges that can't represent anybody, are going to make real decisions on your mistakes. People are going to know that you guys tried to fuck with me in court.
Mr. Ruff, I'm going to ask that you refrain from the statements that you are making from your obscenities here in this court in your use of language. You're in a courtroom.
Okay.
I'm not going to allow you to use that kind of language.
That's First Amendment.
Mr. Ruff, no, you don't have a right to go into
I
court.
don't have a First Amendment right in court.
Mr. Ruff, you have a First Amendment right. You don't have a right to go into court and disrespect the court.
Saying fuck is not disrespectful,
Mr.
sir.
Ruff, if you do it again, you may be going to jail today. Do you understand?
Oh,
sir?
I absolutely understand.
Because I have the power to hold you in contempt, which I do not want to do. I'm asking you to refrain from using that sort of language in a courtroom. It's not appropriate, Mr. Ruff. You may think that it's appropriate to come in and use that sort of language in a courtroom, but it is not, sir.
So you would abuse your authority if I exercise my right. It's an abuse of authority.
The First Amendment does not grant you the power to say anything you'd like at any time that you please. Full stop. The judge certainly has discretion on the conduct that can be allowed in their courtroom.
To please refrain from using that kind of language in the courtroom.
You're supposed to be impartial and fair. I'm using a word to emphasize my sentences, which is a First Amendment protected right. I can do that.
You are entitled to do that. You're not allowed to swear and use obscenities in court because you are upset.
Cohen v. California would disagree with you.
So Cohen versus California was a case where a man was convicted for wearing a shirt in court that said, quote, "fuck the draft," unquote, where he was convicted of disturbing the peace. The Supreme Court overturned that conviction and highlighted that the conviction rested solely on Cohen's speech rather than his conduct, which could be regulated if there is sufficiently important government interest justifying a limitation on First Amendment freedom of speech. The court has been granted the right to control conduct within the courtroom.
Okay.
That's Supreme Court case law, landmark.
Mr. Ruff, are you done?
I'm done. I've been done. I'm just waiting for you to sentence me.
Mr. Thedummykruger, I understand your argument, Mr. Thedummykruger, but I think when you talk about your client changing his behavior, clearly the display of what is continuing shows that he doesn't want to change his behavior. It's very clear. Mr. Ruff, the court takes into consideration in your case, I know, Mr. Ruff, that I have to look at it, and I have looked at it, Mr. Ruff. I'm aware that you actually pled guilty. You didn't go to trial, you pled guilty to armed robbery.
Because I was wrong. You're right. I did it.
And you went to, hang on, Mr. Ruff, it's my turn now. I'm gonna ask that you refrain from speaking. I let you speak, now you need to be quiet.
Okay.
You went to 7 years of DOC, you were placed on 3 years of probation subsequent to that.
You guys are going to sentence me to jail. Great.
So he does care now what his sentence will be. Just a few minutes ago, he, with all his bravado, said it didn't matter what his sentence was because he was just going to appeal, as if that will magically keep you out of jail. It very possibly could for a little while, but it's going to catch up to you if you have no grounds for appeal.
In terms of the First Amendment, I think the prosecution is correct in their statements, Mr. Ruff, that the police, really their concern is, one, it can be the safety of themselves and safety of others, especially when they're trying to do investigations. And the fact that you would have just shown up and recorded is one thing. The fact that you would retort and say the things you did is another. You escalated things. You escalated things, and You did it purposely and you did it intentionally.
Are you making claims from the bench?
Mr. Ruff, I'm asking you to refrain.
Making claims from the bench.
Making claims from the bench? What does this even mean? The judge is simply going off what was presented during the trial.
Mr. Ruff, I'm asking you to refrain. Are you wanting me to find you in contempt? Are you asking me to do that?
I'm not asking you to do anything.
I'm asking you to be quiet.
Okay.
You went beyond that. The video that I looked at, and I looked at it several times, where you approached the officers and would yell in their faces and say the things you did, especially when there was a group of people, and I could see the officer walking away, and it was clear that the officer had concerns for his safety, which they're taught to do. Anytime there's a group like this involved, they are trained and taught to be aware of their surroundings, and things were escalating. And Mr. Ruff, I think what is really clear is, you may not recall, I recall, I remember the things that you said in your closing statement here, and I think you believe that that is constitutionally protected speech, and I'm going to respectfully disagree with you.
But how could you disagree with me? There are hundreds of people on YouTube that told me I could say anything I'd like at any time.
But your conduct, Mr. Ruff, goes to another level. It just went to another level in these cases. It incited the crowd, and I understand that you may be doing this for recording purposes, and there is no problem with you merely showing up and recording. That's never an issue. It's what you do while you're recording. It's getting into the faces of these individuals, inciting the crowd, and that's what I saw in the last case. I thought it was egregious. You could clearly tell the officer was concerned as he was walking back to his car. So while there is a First Amendment right, Mr. Ruff, sometimes when you're placed on probation, you lose your rights.
Thank you, Judge, for saying that so plainly. I feel like I repeat it over and over and over that the camera and recording is not the issue. It's the conduct that comes along with your recording that gets them arrested. They like to use the camera excuse to promote unlawful actions and provocative behavior while perpetrating some sort of victim status. Let's hop straight to the sentencing, shall we?
That is the case of failure to obey a police officer. You were found guilty of that matter. I'm giving you 90 days of jail. 90 days of jail will be postponed. I'm placing you on probation for 24 months. You are directed to do counseling. I'm sending you to Prodigy Healthcare to do counseling. You are to contact them within 2 business days to set up that counseling. The case of 2021-043799, I am not going to place you on probation for that criminal trespass case. However, Mr. Ruff, in light of the fact that I know you had a total of 6 cases, and I realize that 2 of them were dismissed, so I'm not taking those into consideration, but the fact that you continue to pick up these cases, and that your behavior hasn't been changed or modified, I do believe that jail time is warranted, Mr. Ruff. It's based upon your prior criminal history. It's based upon the number of cases that you picked up in this court. It's based upon the conduct that you continue to show and the disdain that you continue to show, not only this court, but others. For that reason, Mr. Ruff, I did find you guilty. I'm imposing 5 days of jail.
That's it?
Those 5 days are straight time. In the case of 2021-063564, court does enter a judgment of guilt for that criminal trespass charge. I am placing you on probation in that matter for 12 months. I am giving you 5 days of jail. Again, those 5 days of jail will run, it'll be a straight time, no 2 for 1. That will run concurrent with the 5 days of jail in 2021-043799. In the case of 2021-071040, Mr. Ruff, I'm placing you on probation. Court does enter a judgment of guilt to the offense of disorderly conduct as a Class 1 misdemeanor and trespassing as a Class 1 misdemeanor. 180 days of jail, 180 days will be suspended, 3 years of probation, and I am ordering counseling. I am ordering that you do anger management. On the trespass charges, 30 days jail, 30 days suspended, 12 months probation.
So the majority of his jail sentence is postponed in lieu of probation. He does get 10 days mandatory jail and at least 3 years of probation, including anger management classes, which you can hear him actually snicker about. The real kicker is about to come up. Let's listen in.
And Mr. Ruff, as to the matters that you are being placed on probation for, and the failure to obey a police officer, and in this matter, Mr. Ruff, as a term and condition of your probation, I'm directing that you shall not go to areas where the Mesa Police Department are conducting an investigation. That you shall not record any members of the Mesa Police Department while you are on probation. That is the order of this court. And I know, Mr. Ruff, that you believe that you have a First Amendment right, and people do have rights to record. But when you violate those rights in the nature and the way that you did, Mr. Ruff, I believe it is an appropriate term of probation, given the nature and the contact that you had with the officers and the things that you were saying to them. And again, this is in light especially of the last case where I watched that video over and over of your conduct and what you did.
Hurt your
And
feelings.
so for that reason, Mr. Ruff, if you violate these terms and conditions of probation, please understand that there is a substantial amount of jail time hanging over your head, sir.
Whoa, that's a massive stipulation that goes along with his probation. The judge here is trying to help Direct D by discouraging his criminal behavior, though it seems unlikely according to this leak audio, which was no doubt done illegally and against the judge's orders. When you're on probation, you lose some of your constitutional rights, so please spare me the "that's unconstitutional" takes, because it's not. It's part of probation.
I do not want to impose that, Jim. I want you to change your behaviors. That's the whole point of this, Mr. Ruff, and it doesn't seem like you are interested in doing that. I'm certainly hoping, sir, that you would take into account that when you did say that you're going to be a father soon again, and I'm hoping that you would take that into account and that somehow, sir, that you would change your behaviors and see that this is just, it's not conducive to yourself, sir, in terms of Mr. Ruff, the courts don't want to lock you up. I know that you feel that somehow this is what's happening, Mr. Ruff. I was really hoping that you would come in here today with a different attitude.
This is a joke.
I understand that you feel that way, Mr. Ruff.
You're sensitive about my language,
and
your sensibilities.
Mr. Ruff, there isn't anything I can do to change it, and I'm realizing that as I'm sitting here.
33.
So there isn't anything else that I can say to you, Mr. Ruff. So those are the orders of this court.
So I have mixed emotions about this sentencing. I believe the judge realizes here that no matter how much he may be trying to help, it's falling on deaf ears. I fully believe the judge, for whatever reason, set up this sentencing in an attempt to get him to change his criminal behavior, but alas, I don't see it working. My honest gut feeling is that he will lose his appeal, probably get another charge or break his probation and end up doing more jail time. Let me play one more audio clip that actually shows Direct D's true motivations behind his so-called activism. He whispers it softly, so I've tried to enhance the audio as best as possible. I know it's a little tough to make out, so feel free to rewind it. But in the middle of him being sentenced, he says, "I'm going to make $5,000 on that recording." Therein lies the true motivation behind these frauds. It's not about activism. It's not about protecting people's rights. It's about YouTube and the money that can come along with it. Thank you everyone for stopping by the channel today and watching the video. If you want to see more similar content, please consider subscribing, liking, and commenting below. This is Dummy Kruger, and I'll catch you on the next one.